At 5:12 inches the morning, the parking lot behind a discount grocery store looks empty from the street. The lights are still on above the loading dock. A delivery truck idles near the back door. Somewhere behind the building, a cart with one bad wheel knocks softly against a curb every time the wind moves it. Nothing about the place seems important. Nothing looks like a national emergency. Then the back door of a grey minivan slides open. A boy steps out. He is wearing a blue backpack, a winter coat, and sneakers with one loose lace. He stands for a second, blinking into the cold, as if he has just woken up in a place he does not want to recognize. A hand reaches out from inside and smooths his hair, quickly. Not tenderly because there is no love, but because tenderness takes time, and time is one of the things they no longer have. The boy zips his coat. He checks both directions. He walks toward the sidewalk that leads to the elementary school 6 blocks away. Most people would drive past this and never know what they were looking at. That is exactly why the crisis is so easy to miss. Part 1. The homelessness you don't recognize. When most people imagine someone who is homeless, they picture a specific kind of scene: a tent, a shopping cart, a cardboard sign. What they almost never picture is a minivan in a grocery store parking lot, or a man shaving in a gas station restroom before his shift, or a woman in scrubs changing shoes in her driver's seat before walking into a hospital, or a child doing homework under a dome light while the engine runs for heat. This is what homelessness in America actually looks like in 2026. Not a collapse on a sidewalk, a running engine. Each detail, by itself, is explainable. Together, they become a map of a crisis that has learned to hide inside ordinary life. There is no tent. There is no cardboard sign. There is only a person trying to hold on to the last remaining symbols of normal. A uniform. A school backpack. A phone with an alarm set for work. That is the line now. Not a house. Not an apartment. A car that still runs. Part 2. The number that is wrong. Every year, the federal government runs something called the point-in-time count. Teams go out on a single night, walk the streets, check the shelters, and tally up everyone they find. That number goes to Congress. It shapes policy. It determines where billions of dollars flow. That number is wrong. Here is what it almost completely misses. Families sleeping in vehicles, because those families are not on a street corner. They are parked quietly in residential neighborhoods, rotating spots every couple of nights, keeping the curtains drawn, doing everything they can not to be noticed or found. The counting method was never designed to reach them. So when a lawmaker looks at the official numbers and sees something that feels manageable, they build manageable solutions. But they are solving for the wrong number. Here is the number that is harder to argue with. Over 1 million children in America experience homelessness in a single school year. Not a few thousand. Not an isolated problem in a few cities. 1 million. And a meaningful share of them are sleeping in cars and vans with their parents every single night. 1 million children. Invisible in the official count. Part 3. How it happens in 30 days. The first crack is almost always smaller than people imagine. It is not one disaster. It is a chain. Rent goes up. Then the grocery bill goes up. Then a child gets sick, and a parent misses 2 shifts. Then the late fee appears. Then the landlord stops taking partial payments. Then comes an email, with legal language at the top and a date at the bottom. Most families at this point do not think of themselves as becoming homeless. They think they are falling behind. That is how it usually begins, with a number on a screen, with a balance that should have been manageable, with a repair bill, with a medical copay, with a landlord saying, "I understand, but I still need the money." There is a cruelty in how quiet it is. The country does not shake when a family loses its living room. The evening news does not interrupt programming when a child starts doing homework under a dome light. Nobody hears the sound of a lease ending except the people who cannot replace it. And here is the part most people do not know. The eviction does not end when you hand in your keys. It follows you. Landlords routinely screen for eviction history. Even a filing, not a completed eviction. Just the paperwork being started is enough to disqualify most applicants from most available rentals. So the family that lost their apartment does not just need a new apartment. They have been locked out of the regular rental market. Their options collapse down to three things: a shelter, a relative's couch, or the car. 30 days. Start to finish. That is who we are talking about. Not people far removed from regular life. People one bad month away from it. Part 4. What the city sees and what it doesn't say. In government meeting rooms across the country, the language is careful. Vehicular encampments, public health concerns, business access, safety, neighborhood impact, cost recovery. Nobody says family. Nobody says child. The city is not pretending the problem is imaginary. That would be easier to condemn. The harder truth is that the city knows the problem is real. It knows there are not enough shelter beds for everyone. It knows some shelters cannot take a father with teenage daughters. It knows some do not allow pets, some separate families, some are full, and some feel dangerous to the people who are supposed to use them. Nationally, there are roughly 60 shelter beds available for every 100 unhoused people. Most shelters are at or near capacity. Between 40 and 50% of unhoused people avoid shelters entirely because of documented risks of theft, violence, and conditions that are not safe for children, older people, or anyone with medical needs. The city knows all of this. But the city also receives complaints. Businesses complain, residents complain, council members complain, property owners want enforcement. The public wants compassion in theory and removal in practice. So the system does what systems often do. It creates a process, a warning, a waiting list, an assessment, a referral, a rule, a deadline, a fee. Part 5. In America, poverty does not just take money away, it adds fees. A family without a kitchen buys more expensive food. A person without a washer pays to clean work clothes. A worker without an address loses job applications before the first interview. A parent without a safe place to leave belongings rents a storage unit they cannot afford. A person without a bed sleeps badly, works slower, gets fewer hours, and falls further behind. A car becomes shelter, but shelter needs gas, insurance, tires, registration, repairs, and a place to park. Every survival choice has a meter attached. Running a car engine for heat in extreme cold burns $200 to $400 in extra fuel every month. Without a kitchen, families spend $10 to $30 per person per day on prepared food, hundreds of dollars more monthly than cooking at home. Add a gym membership for shower access, coin laundry, a storage unit. The Federal Reserve has found that a large share of American households cannot easily cover a $400 emergency. For families living in vehicles, that same unexpected cost can eliminate the thin margin between keeping the car and losing it entirely. And losing the car means losing the only shelter they have left. Part 6. The hidden city. These families are doing something deliberate every single day. They are hiding. The car stays clean. Children leave for school in neat clothes, on time, from a parking lot. They rotate locations every few nights so they do not draw attention. They avoid outreach workers, not because they do not need help, but because being seen carries real risk. Risk of losing custody of their children if the wrong authority finds out. Risk of their employer discovering the situation. Risk of a kind of visibility that tends to make an already impossible situation worse. She is not hiding from help. She is hiding from the consequences of being helped by the wrong people in the wrong order. If the school finds out, will they call someone? If her employer finds out, will they cut her hours? If child welfare hears the word homeless, will the children become a case file? If the van is towed, where do they sleep tonight? They are not invisible because they do not need help. They are invisible because being seen can make everything worse. This is the hidden city. It wakes before dawn, in parking lots behind supermarkets. It washes in gas station sinks. It changes clothes in back seats. It keeps medication in coolers and documents in plastic folders. It sleeps near light poles because darkness feels dangerous, but not too near them because visibility creates complaints. It rotates between church lots, hospital garages, truck stops, and dead-end streets. It studies the habits of patrol cars. It knows which security guards knock and which ones call the police. It knows where bathrooms stay unlocked. It is a city beneath the city, made of engines and blankets and shame that does not belong to the people carrying it. The National Center for Homeless Education has documented that hundreds of thousands of homeless students are not in shelters or on streets, but in what researchers call hidden situations. Vehicles, doubled-up living arrangements, short-term stays, completely outside the reach of standard counting. This invisibility is not random. It is the result of rational decisions made by people who have learned that being found does not always mean being helped. And it creates a feedback loop. They are invisible, so data undercounts them. Data undercounts them. So policy underfunds solutions. Solutions are underfunded. So families stay in vehicles longer. The longer they stay, the harder getting out becomes. Part 7. When sleeping became a crime. By evening, the ordinary city becomes warm from the inside. Houses light up. Kitchens glow. Television screens flicker through curtains. A door that locks. A refrigerator. A hallway. A place to be tired without being watched. These are not luxuries when you have them. They are just life. But to someone in a car, they become evidence of everything that is gone. And starting in 2025 and 2026, a new layer arrived on top of the existing crisis. More than 400 cities across the United States now have some form of overnight vehicle sleeping ban. These laws make it explicitly illegal to sleep in your own vehicle between set hours, usually 10 at night, to 6 inches the morning on public streets. Think about what that actually means. If you are living in your car and you fall asleep, you are breaking the law every night. Not for anything you did, for the act of sleeping. Fines start between $50 and $250 per violation. After 3 to 5 tickets in many places, sleeping in a vehicle becomes a misdemeanor with court dates, possible warrants, potential jail time, and a criminal record. That record then makes it harder to get a job, which makes it harder to save money, which makes it harder to leave vehicle living behind, which means more nights in the car, which means more violations. It tightens with every cycle. Part 8. The financial trap built into the law. In cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and Phoenix, time limit parking rules now specifically target RV dwellers. Many cities cap how long a vehicle can stay in one spot, 2 to 6 hours in most cases. Automated plate readers track vehicles around the clock. Once a vehicle is in the system, it is flagged everywhere it goes. Moving an RV, even a few miles to comply with a time limit, can burn $20 to $40 per trip in fuel. Do that consistently across a month, and the cost of simply being legally required to keep moving can reach $600 to $1,000. Most vehicle dwellers do not have that. And then there are tow-away zones. Initial tow fees run $250 to $600. Daily storage adds $80 to $150 per day. Release fees add another $100 to $300. Within 10 days, getting a towed vehicle back can cost $1,500 to $3,500. Most people cannot pay that. When they cannot, the city auctions or destroys the vehicle. That vehicle is not just a car. It has someone's ID documents, their prescriptions, their work tools, their family photos, their children's school records, their medications that need refrigeration. When it is gone, all of that goes with it. Data from West Coast cities shows that 60 to 70% of towed vehicles belonging to unhoused residents are never reclaimed. Those families go from having a vehicle to being on the street overnight, with no transition and no alternative offered. Part 9. $90 million. Zero results. Los Angeles spends over $90 million a year on encampment and vehicle removals. San Francisco spends over $30 million. Seattle over $25 million. That is not token spending. That is serious public money. And in all three cities, homelessness rates have continued to rise. Multiple studies, looking at what happens after major sweeps, come to the same conclusion. Over 80% of displaced people are still homeless months later. Their finances are worse. Their health is worse. The informal networks they had built, knowing which spots are safe, which services are nearby, who to trust, are gone. Sweeps do not reduce homelessness. They reduce the visibility of it in one specific place for a short window of time, at massive cost, and at direct cost to the people being swept. The church lot that used to take 12 vehicles is now down to 6, because neighbors complained, the insurance company asked questions, the city required a permit, the permit required security, and security cost money. 12 became 6 to keep the program alive. That is how help disappears, not always through cruelty, sometimes through liability, sometimes through zoning, sometimes through a meeting where everyone agrees the need is real and then votes to make the solution smaller. A shelter bed, meanwhile, is not the same thing as a home. Sometimes it is not even the same thing as safety. Part 10. The math under the floor. When you step back and run the numbers honestly, here is what the whole picture adds up to. A sign was posted. A warning was issued. A complaint was filed. A contractor was called. A vehicle was identified. A fee schedule exists. Storage begins after towing. Release requires payment. Payment requires money. Money requires work. Work requires transportation. Transportation is now hooked to the back of a truck. The public is paying more to keep people unstable than it would cost to help them stand still. Unpaid fines become warrants. Warrants become arrests. Arrests become incarceration. Locking someone up costs the public an average of $45,000 per person per year. Courts, public defenders, processing, all of it publicly funded. A housing voucher that could have stopped the whole chain costs considerably less. Meanwhile, the cheaper answer waits on the other side of politics, paperwork, and public resistance. A short-term rent payment before eviction. A safe parking lot with bathrooms and caseworkers. A voucher accepted by a landlord. A lawyer at the first court date. A motel room for a family with children before the van becomes a bedroom. A flexible program that understands that survival does not fit office hours. But prevention is hard to photograph. Enforcement is easy. Part 11. What the parking lot has become. Near midnight, in parking lots and on quiet streets in every major American city, families are running the same mental calculation they run every single night. How much fuel is left? Which lot feels safest? Whether there is time in the morning to get the kids ready before the first bus. The children are asleep in the back, or close to it. The younger one turns often. The older child has one arm across a backpack, as if it might disappear if they let go. The parent sits in the driver's seat, looking down at a phone, adding numbers that do not come out right. Gas, food, laundry, phone bill, insurance, storage, the fee avoided tonight, the rent that cannot be reached, the deposit that might as well be a mountain. A single sheet of paper sits on the passenger seat. Official language, city seal, no place to sleep. What that parking lot has become is not hard to name once you look at it clearly. A bedroom, a nursery, a waiting room, a place where an American family tries to remain a family without the structure that makes family life possible. This is what the crisis really means. It means homelessness is no longer only where people expect to see it. It has moved into the ordinary places. It is behind tinted windows at sunrise. It is in the employee parking lot before a shift. It is in the school drop-off line. It is in the gym shower. It is in the hospital badge clipped to a shirt that was folded in a trunk. It means work is no longer a guaranteed exit. It means a paycheck can arrive and still not be enough. It means the distance between housed and homeless has become so narrow that families cross it before they even understand what happened. It means the support system often moves slower than the crisis, and the punishment system moves right on time. By morning, the grocery store lot will look empty again. The delivery truck will return. The carts will line up by the entrance. Customers will pull in for milk, bread, eggs, coffee, and the small routines that make life feel stable. The place will look ordinary because the people who slept there have learned to disappear before the day begins. The crisis does not disappear when the sun comes up. It just learns how to look normal. A child walking to school. A parent starting a van. A worker brushing their teeth before dawn. An elderly person counting pills beneath a weak ceiling light. Most of all, It means America has become skilled at hiding its broken promises inside normal scenes. And a country that forces working families to hide their poverty is not protecting order. It is protecting an illusion. So the question is not whether a family should be allowed to sleep in a parking lot. No family dreams of that. No child should have to learn which lots are safe, which bathrooms open early, and how to pretend the back seat is not a bedroom. The question is, what kind of country looks at a family living in a car and sees the car as the problem? Because once you have seen it clearly, you cannot unsee it. The van was never just parked overnight. It was evidence. Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know what stands out to you.